So what were you guys talking about?
Oh, we were all just discussing how amazing it's going to be when we all get our unicorns in the afterlife.
Oh, you guys are a part of the whole unicorn magic thing?
Are you not?
Um, no, not right now.
Oh.
I guess I'm just a bit more of a kind of sciencey, that kind of way.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think that it's fine to be sciencey and all rational to a certain extent, but I do think that some people take it too far. I mean, scientists definitely don't know everything. um, yeah, well, no, I agree. I don't think scientists know everything at all. I guess it's just they're not the ones like claiming to know everything. And we are. Sorry, no, I didn't mean that to come out so like that. I just mean like you guys have like theories about stuff, and I I don't think like science has like alternative theories about it, because like you're the ones who are kind of saying this is how it is, and because science is more just like, oh, we don't know kind of thing, you know. Well, we do know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you guys have like your opinions on what like happened and or with everything. Just an opinion? I don't think you can call it just an opinion. I mean, I've dedicated my life to this. I study every single day. I'm practically an expert in the field by this point. I don't think you can just say that that's just an opinion. Well, I get that like you might like really, really believe it and be very dedicated and stuff, but I guess it for me it kind of comes down to whether or not there's like solid evidence for it actually being real, because if there isn't any, which I haven't heard of any for all the stuff that you guys are saying, but if there isn't any, then I would probably say that that's more of like an opinion rather than a. Right. So what's your opinion then? My opinion, I guess for most things, my opinion is just I have no idea, because if we were to like discover, I don't know, some kind of evidence for stuff, then it would be, I would probably just kind of accept whatever the evidence like points to, but I guess I'm not too bothered about it in some ways, unless it's gonna like majorly impact my life. But so far, I don't think anything like that has come up yet. I usually just accept, like I'll just kind of look at what the experiments and evidence and whatever says, and then either accept that or be neutral, or say that sometimes people do experiments but then they're like not fair and not conducted properly, so then you'd be like, I'm not really don't really accept that. So you just go around the world not accepting anything. You don't think that magic's real. You don't even think that there's anything that could possibly be like outside of our comprehension. You don't think there's anything transcendent? I don't think that there's, I'm definitely not bold enough to say that I understand everything and there's nothing that I couldn't understand, like going on, that I'm pretty certain, to be honest, that there's gonna be loads and loads of, like, most things I don't understand properly, and there's definitely things going on like in the universe that I can't comprehend, that that's really not what I meant at all. It's not that I think that magic, like, cannot be real or anything. I just think that at the minute there's nothing to make me think that it is real. Well, there's literally a stack of books, like, right here that has everything that you need to know in them. Like, is that not good enough evidence for you that there's literally anything, any questions that you had are all in, they're all in these books? Have you read them? I did, because I was curious a few months ago, I did read a little bit of one of them. I guess what I took away from it was that they're very nice, you know, the illustrations are nice and the stories are nice. And it's nice to kind of imagine and think about and be like, it's kind of comforting in that way, thinking about, oh, we're being looked after and we're gonna end up in this really nice place after we die or whatever it is. And so, you know, it's nice, but the books themselves aren't evidence for them being real. Well, why not? It literally says everything in the books that you need to know. Like, any questions that you have will be answered if you read all of the books properly, and if you read them sincerely and with an open heart, then I think that it's almost impossible to read them properly and study them properly and still come out of it thinking that they're just a story. Well, I guess it's a difficult one because we've got kind of two or more scenarios of what it could be, you know. I want to be going with, like, the most likely explanation of you know, if a weird thing happens, then you usually go with the most likely explanation. But, like, with these books, you can read them and then either take from that, like, oh, it's all real and someone's written it because they're just reciting what really happened, in which case you'd have to accept that magic is real, unicorns are real, and fairies and mermaids and all that kind of stuff. Or you could maybe think that someone's just made up some stories and they're very nice stories, but maybe someone just, because in that case you don't need to take such a leap of faith to decide that all of this magic stuff's real. It just seems more likely to me that someone probably just had fun making it up, or they thought that they were doing a good thing, like helping people with the stories, and maybe something along those lines, or maybe they did believe it when they were writing it, but, like, that doesn't make it true. It just means that they thought it was true. I mean, I think that it's a much bigger leap of faith for you to say that it's like impossible for any of this to be true. Like, who are you to say that it can't be true? I mean, that there's so much evidence in all of these books, and I mean, it's not just like it's only me who believes it. This is something that spans across the whole world. There's millions of people who've read them and recognized that there's something special about these books. And I don't think that that's just a coincidence that so many people, and for so long, these books have the longevity to stay around. I'm really not saying that they're not true, because, as you said, like, I can't possibly know that. I just don't know if they are true. Like, it would be too bold of me to be like, no, none of it's true, magic can't be real, because I can't possibly know that. But if you're gonna say that it is real, then you gotta prove that somehow. And I understand that lots and lots of people believe that it's true, and I agree that that's not a coincidence. But I don't think the reason that so many people believe it is because it is true. I think it's probably for a bunch of other reasons. Like, I do think that humans in general are very inclined to want there to be meaning to life and to want there to be someone out there looking after them all the time, and it's very human to want more and to see wonder in the world. And it's, even just there are illusions that go on all the time with in life, even seeing that the sky is blue is kind of an illusion that our eyes are kind of seeing it blue. And like, yeah. But you do realize that there is solid evidence as well. Like, I don't think that we even need extra evidence over the top of what it says in the books, because I think they kind of speak for themselves. But if you do want extra evidence, I mean, for example, we can look at the prophecies. Yeah. Do you have an example of a prophecy in them? Well, off the top of my head, flying. Yeah, literally fairies. Fairies are humans that have wings, humans that can fly. And people didn't used to be able to fly. It was unheard of that humans would ever fly. And nowadays, we've got planes. We have humans that are flying. And people back then, they didn't know that. Yeah, well, that's not really the same, because it's not like we have organically, like, grown wings out of ourselves. That's kind of different. Like, no, I don't think that you understand. You've got to put yourself in the context of when this was written. Nobody back then could comprehend a human being able to fly. It was just unheard of. It's impossible for them to comprehend that. And now you're just saying, oh no, they could have just come up with that. How could they have just come up with this concept of having a human that can fly when there was no planes, there was nothing like that had been invented yet? I don't understand why it wouldn't be possible for them to come up with the concept of a human flying. Like, they could see birds and flies, insects and stuff flying, so why couldn't they just be like, oh, human with wings, human flying? I don't understand why they couldn't have come up, why it's like impossible. They didn't have as much progression as we do today, but they weren't like unable to observe things in the world. Well, you can nitpick at my examples. Like, that was just an example off the top of my head, but there are way more examples than that, and they are very specific, and there's like definitely no way that they could have known that. I don't really feel like you're taking it very seriously, so I when you've got this amount of negativity towards it, like, of course you're just gonna say like, oh no, they could have known. But okay, I'm not gonna ask you to go through like all of the examples, because then we'd be here for a long time, but let's say that somehow you do have a really brilliant example and I cannot come up with an explanation. How do you then get from a book making a really good guess, essentially, about what was going to happen in the future? How do you get from that, which is just like an impressive thing, to then everything in the books is real, magic is real, fairies and mermaids and unicorns are all real? Because that's you're missing some steps there, surely. No, why would I be missing some steps there? It's about the fact that it shows that these books are reliable. It shows that there's something very special about the books. Well, I think that it shows that they were lucky, or it shows that they wrote so many different, prophecies in there that one of them's bound to be true, or they wrote them vague enough so that we can, interpret them in hindsight. Or I honestly don't understand why you're actively trying to not believe it. Like, you could be so happy and so fulfilled with all of this knowledge, and yet it's as if you're sabotaging yourself because you don't want to let yourself be happy. Firstly, I am happy. Like, I don't know why you think that I'm not happy. There are plenty of things in the world that can make you happy that aren't just these magic books. And secondly, this isn't about me not wanting to believe it. I would love to believe it. It sounds great. It sounds fun, and I would have fun imagining having my own unicorn and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't make it real, and I'm not about to just convince myself that it's real when I've got really no good reason to believe that it's real. Your standards of evidence for it being real just seem so low. Like, if you're gonna believe all of this stuff based off some decent predictions, some which did come true and some which didn't, and the book makes you happy, or you like it, or it matches up with history, or you could say like, oh look, they drew human anatomy properly, and that makes it more reliable or something. But if you're gonna believe all of this stuff with the amount of evidence that you have, surely you should be believing like every book is real. Like, have you read any other fantasy book? Do you believe that they're all just real? Could I write one right now and write some predictions in it, and then we could come back in 10 years and see, like, if I got them right, would you believe everything that I wrote in my book? You're really not taking this seriously. You can't just compare any old book to these books. These books are very special, and most of the world can understand that and can get their head around that, and I don't know why you're finding that so incredibly hard to accept. And no, of course you can't just write a book and then I'll believe it. You're honestly just being so rude about this, and in a way I shouldn't even, like, I shouldn't be surprised, because you haven't read them, or you definitely haven't read them properly, the stuff that you did read, so I can't expect you to have, morals like me. Wait. You think that I can't have good morals if I haven't read the books? Well, I think I might have evidence for that sat right there. You think that I don't have good morals? You think that your morals come from those books? Yes, I do. What? So before you read those books, you were going around killing people and stealing stuff and all sorts. That's what you're saying? No, I wasn't, because I've always had the essence of these books in my heart, but it's obvious that you haven't, and therefore you haven't benefited from it. So you genuinely think that I'm not a good person because I haven't read the books? You don't think I'm capable of doing a good thing? You're capable of doing a good thing, it's just that you aren't reaching your full potential, and therefore you aren't as moral as you could be if you did have these books in your life. I've got to say, as I was sort of skimming through one of them, whenever it was, they're not all... Some of the stuff's nice in there, but I've got to say some of it's very questionable. Like, I don't really get why you would, like, at least get rid of those pages where it says all the dodgy stuff. I already know that you're just trying to take a low blow here, but I can promise you that if you actually read them properly, then there's nothing dodgy about them. It's got some very questionable morals in there. Surely you can't just ignore it. You only think that because you haven't read them properly. If you take a page and take it completely out of context, then yes, it's gonna sound a bit weird. But if you actually read them properly, in the full context, then it makes sense, and there's nothing wrong with it. But surely if you can say that, then that means that you have a moral compass outside of the books. Because if your morality came only from the book, then you would surely be saying that all of those things on those pages are legit and are how we should act. But you're thankfully not. You can thankfully recognize that they're all horribly immoral, and so you've used your own morality to decipher which parts of the books are good and which parts are bad. It's not about deciding which parts are good and which parts are bad. It's all good. It's just that some parts of it you take word for word, and some parts of it are more ambiguous. So the parts of the book that say, I'm not going to repeat them here, but you know what they say, you think that that's good. I don't think that it's good on its own, but when it's in the proper, correct context of the book, then yeah, I think it's good. But then what is the point of them even being in there? Why didn't, if it's so magic, why didn't they just realize that this might be a bit confusing to some people and just not write those bits? Like, what's the point in writing very questionable things just to what? To test people to see if they'll go along with it or not? Look, if you really want to understand the books, then you need to come to the meetings and you need to study them properly. I can't have a serious conversation with you when you're talking about things that you don't even know about. You're right, I do not know the books anywhere near as well as you do, but right now I don't feel like that matters too much because I don't have a reason to care about what's in the books apart from you telling me that I should care and then not giving me a proper reason why. And then on top of it, calling me immoral. Is that something that you're just allowed to do and I can't get offended because it's your belief? There's all sorts of things in those books that are actually kind of offensive. It says that unless you believe all of this stuff, then you'll die, basically. But isn't that what you believe anyway? That you're just gonna die? So why would you be offended about something that you already agree with and you already believe? I do believe, as far as I know, that when I die, there's nothing after it. But that wasn't my point. I don't mind the dying part. I mind the fact that it says in it that I'm not good enough because I don't believe it, and therefore it's gonna kill me off whilst everyone else gets eternal life. But that's your choice. You have the option of happiness. You have the choice to join. You can't complain that you're gonna die when you're the one who's decided to not believe the truth. Because I've got no reason to believe that it's real. I'm not gonna live my life, my entire life, believing that there's more after I die. Because if there isn't, which I again have no reason to believe that there is, if there isn't, then I've just wasted my life thinking that there's more afterwards, and that'll have a major impact on me, and it'll mean that if I start believing that the people around me, I'll see them again after they die, and then I don't, how do you think I'm going to treat those people in this life, in this only life that I know for sure that I definitely have? I might not even be bothered when, I might be happy when they die, because I'll be like, oh, I'll see her again, it's fine. And then, what if it then turns out, no, you don't, and I've just spent my whole life. Or maybe one day I literally find out that it's specifically not true and that I won't see her again, and then I'm like, what am I going to do now? She's dead, and I've just learnt that I'm never going to see her again. And I haven't even been through the whole mourning process, because in my head she's never been dead. I just think that everything that you just said is sad. And even if it did somehow turn out to not be true in the end, like what have you got to lose? Like, all you would have just had a happy life thinking that it was true and living your life very happy, and then maybe it doesn't turn out to be true. But can you imagine the other way around? Can you imagine if you live your whole life believing that it's not true, and then it turns out that it is true, and you've lost an eternity of happiness? It's either losing one human lifetime, or losing a literal eternity of happiness. And it's not even a good human lifetime. I mean, is this world even that good? I don't know why you would choose this, bleak scientific view of the world, when all you need to do is just choose to join, and then you'll be so much happier. It's not a choice.